I run a company called Launchpad, which is the first blockchain investment bank in the world. What the investment bank does is deep due diligence on blockchain deals. So, for example, in the last 2 years, we've developed something called the Token Assessment Framework. And what that does, it looks at security, to legal, to compliance, to regulatory, financial, everything. And when I say we look at those things, it's not like surface level stuff that, like go look at a white paper on a website. It's like a deep, deep dive. My security team is currently ranked as the 3rd best white hat hackers in the world. And that's rankings are done by the NSA. So, so we'll go hack a bunch of stuff and we'll see what we can breach and see what we can find. Well, no. Like it's with approval from the company, obviously, and that's for ourselves to deploy capital into those companies, for family offices, for VCs, and for others as well.
You have a fun job.
Yeah. Well, I have a job which is meeting people and building relationships. My team does most of the work. So that's like one part of the business. The other part of the business is we have like a full advisory team. So in the last year and a half, we've supported about 12 different ventures and everything from World Economic Forum voting systems to the largest project in Korea for K-pop to American healthcare companies. So like a really broad mix of different projects and things. So I'm generally pretty industry agnostic. There are some things that excite me more than other things. So across my career, I've always been more excited by infrastructure, by finance, by impact, by investment. And that's kind of just been because of it's areas where I feel like I can have the most impact and I can add the most amount of value to. In saying that, emerging technology, biotech, even though I have no biotech background, has been things that are emerging. Healthcare has been a recent industry we've made some investments in and are also looking actively more into, especially in America. And there's a really interesting healthcare company that we recently invested in that could have a shot at changing what's going on there. But I think primarily there's a lot of tech and there's a lot of amazing tech that's emerging. And keeping a pulse on it and seeing who's gonna win in those spaces, but more importantly, what impact that has on the planet and how that actually happens is exciting to me. So I'd say financial and infrastructure is probably the most industries where I'm the most excited by, and typically those do sway to power players. So big corporations or governments or nation states or monarchs who have the controls in place to do anything with infrastructure, because normally startups are generally struggle to do infrastructure plays. We don't deal with non-decision makers in an organization because we don't have a sales team, nor do we have any money. We've never spent any capital in sales and marketing. So the whole business is based on reputation and relationships. So we will have people approach us, and it's really up to us if we want to work with those individuals and people or not. And luckily we have the frameworks in place to make sure we can make the right decision before we do that. But yeah. Yes, majority of the time. Maybe not so much the case in other businesses, but for us it's a very relationship-based business, and we don't really work with people that we're very comfortable with and we've had a relationship with for a long period of time. Connecting with like leaders in any given organization is valuable, right? Especially with organizations that, like I'm new to this region, but organizations seem to have much more sway and power in different places where there's less developed infrastructure in place, especially financial infrastructure and regulation. And so if you want to do things, most of the time it's who you know and what they can do. So that's always valuable, right?
Yes.
But I think it's a really interesting format. I think having less speakers and panels where everyone really just wants to network, but you kind of are trying to find awkward tea times to network. I think it's better to be much more focused on how that happens and really making sure those introductions and connections happen. And so far, the 4 companies I've met, I've really liked all of them. So it's been good.